The Hanahan Police Department is busy tackling public safety issues within the city. Today, I talk one-on-one with Hanahan Police Chief Dennis Turner for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Hanahan Police Chief Dennis Turner, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. As I mentioned, you are the police chief for the city of Hanahan, and I know there's a lot of great things happening within the police department. So tell me, Chief, what's new, what's now with the Hanahan Police Department?
A lot's been going on. We've been very busy. What we've seen over the past few months, our staffing is stabilized. While we still have openings, it's definitely stabilized. I attribute that to we've really, over the past year and a half, tightened up our hiring standards, and we're very consistent now with other agencies in the area. We just received a couple of grants. We're going to be replacing our records management system to make it more efficient for the officers to do their work from the patrol cars, to increase call response time. I ran some preliminary numbers yesterday for a presentation I'm doing in February at a council retreat that we're having, and it looks like we've seen, at least as of yesterday, and obviously I won't know for sure until January 1, but it looks like we've seen about a 20-21% decrease in certain property crimes.
Wow.
The other grant that I'm very happy to announce is long overdue, and unfortunately you're going to hear it first before I was going to put it on social media on Friday. You know, our number one priority is our children. I have school-age children, one in high school, one in elementary school, and we have SROs in all but one of our schools. And my lieutenant came to me back in, I believe, October about, can I try for this grant? Well, we received notice last Friday from the state that we received grant funding to place an SRO in Bowens Corner Elementary,
Wow.
which that will take place the first day after Christmas break. That officer is going to be in place. So other than that, I mean, we're going good. We're still getting tons of positive feedback from the community.
Yes.
We're seeing overall our officer complaints are down, which means this is good. The compliments we get on our officers, I mean, it's almost daily between people approach me saying, hey, this officer did this officer did that, or receiving an email, and just working with the community, and we have the support, and things are going well.
You know, that's amazing. And let me go back and break down what you just told me. You talked to me, obviously, about tightening the hiring standards. What exactly are those hiring standards right now?
So our hiring standards is actually consistent with every other agency in the area. At least I can tell you the accredited ones.
Sure.
In that we do a reading, writing comprehension test, a physical agility test. That's right off the rip. We do a thorough background investigation, which includes a polygraph. We also include a very thorough psychological examination that has proven very beneficial in the past. And we do thorough and multiple interviews. There can be up to 3 interviews in the hiring process, and we're fully vetting these our candidates just to make sure we get the good ones. We do not want a bad apple on our force. And one other thing to bring up, that's when I mentioned about what's going on. I mentioned we're doing what accredited agencies are doing. So right now we're not accredited, but what we have done, we have entered into basically an agreement with the South Carolina Law Enforcement Accredited Agencies group, and we have begun the process of becoming an accredited police agency through the state accreditation program. Which what that means is we're refining all our policies. We have set standards that they have to meet. We're going through actively. It's going to take us probably about a year and a half to do this.
Okay.
So in the end, what it will mean is our day-to-day operations and how our officers conduct themselves and how we do things is going to be consistent with every other accredited agency in the state. And what that can do is by doing that and having these stringent policies, it can number one thing, it enforces good policing, and we're doing what's right. But also, it'll help protect the city and the police department from liability from civil exposure. And I think it'll be a good feather in the hat to do it. We're one of the few remaining agencies around here that isn't accredited.
Wow.
So we're working on that. We've had other agencies all around reach out. I mentioned it briefly to Sheriff Lewis the other day in Berkeley County. He's like, "You have my staff anytime you want." So it's going well, and that's one of the things. When I became chief, I believe it was in 2015. In my interview, I would like us to get accredited. So that's what we're moving. We're going to start at state, and then see how that goes. I may look at what's called CALIA, the national accreditation, but we need to. And part of from doing that is the academy came down with the state approved a House bill back in several months back, and what it does is it mandates all police departments in the state to have nine policies address high risk areas, use of force, chokeholds, which we've outlawed chokeholds. I think almost 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, even longer than that. Pursuits, like I said, use of force, no knock search warrants. I know that's a big thing, which we prohibit those outright. So, in preparing those policies and having discussions, even discussing with some state representatives and state senators, I foresee that's going to end up being a push down the road, and it can only better us. So, and the better we are, the better services our community is going to get. And the number one thing is we're here to serve the community, and that's the number one goal.
Yes, sir. So you talk about obviously those notable things that you all obviously have banned. What else do you want to ban as far as making sure as far as law enforcement in your police department?
We're getting rid of. What we're working on is doing the best to promote the best behavior and actions and professionalism. I don't want unprofessionalism within the department. So that's the biggest thing we're working on, and we've always done that. We've had very few incidents in the time that I've been here, and even as chief, even prior to that, issues of misconduct. And that's what we're doing, is trying to ensure the professionalism of our department for our city, for our citizens, but also for policing as a whole.
Yes, sir. So, okay, Chief, let me ask you this. What is the state of policing in the law enforcement world right now, as you know it?
Well, I can speak for the state of South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
We are actively working to better our profession. It starts with initiatives that is called the Law Enforcement Training Council. That's what governs law enforcement in the state, sets guidelines. And it's starting with them, like with our academy, mandating the psychological examinations, mandating these 9 policies, which one of them is having a misconduct policy, which we have already had that. And we refined that policy to specifically list. There's a list that is clearly considered misconduct by the academy, and you can be decertified by the academy. So it starts with there, and then fast forward with what they've done in Columbia. These 9 policies, having these to ensure the good conduct, and they're cracking down on agencies to make sure we have these. For example, if we did not have these policies in place and we are fully ready, the academy's going to start on-site inspections after January. I'm wanting them to come, and I want to be one of the first ones. Hey, come see what we're doing, because also there's stipulations in place that if you do not have these guidelines, the academy can come in and sanction the agency to the point where, as chief of police, I can lose my certification. They can suspend all certifications and all officers employed here. That's some of the things and just try clean up this profession, have us do what's right. Because unfortunately, I think overall policing is a very honorable profession. This is not a job for everybody. I truly believe it is a calling for us, but it takes one incident, one bad apple to tarnish the whole profession. And we're committed. Most recent Chiefs Association meeting we had in Walterboro last month, this came up, and we're all committed to vetting these. If somebody is, say, I terminate an officer, we are reporting it to the academy as to why we terminated them. We're not. In years past, other agencies would kind of sugarcoat it. We're not. Whatever, if it comes to a termination because of a policy violation, whatever, it is reported to the academy exactly what happened. We've also, to ensure, at least where we are, like you see the critical list, take an officer involved shooting. Scarlett Wilson, our solicitor, implemented a protocol, basically a critical incident protocol. She implemented that. It was in the works, I think, for about 3 years, and it's in effect now. It's a guideline that guides what we will do, what we will not do during a critical incident. And like I said, the easiest one is an officer-involved shooting, because that's the one that's going to potentially have the most impact on the community. So it's a clean investigation. It's all thorough. So that, and just I've told my counsel multiple times, we're down a few officers right now, but I told them, I will make sure I hire a well-vetted and qualified candidate. I will not sacrifice or bend our standards just to fill a vacancy. And myself and my command staff, we've worked shifts to help cover, because we're not going to bend our standards, because you have to. I live here. And I want the good cops out there, and that's what we're doing. And we're all working together, all around.
And Chief, you mentioned just a second ago that you're down by a few officers. How many officers do you want to hire in 2023?
I would like to get fully staffed, but it's I have an officer coming on soon. But this is not just an issue that Hanahan's facing.
Yes.
It's all over the state. My best friend's a captain with the sheriff's office in the upstate, and I was talking to him recently. They can't attract the candidates, and some of the ones that they're getting, they can't get through the background process. And you get some that can't pass the reading and writing, which is a very basic examination. They can't pass the physical agility test, or PAT, that we refer to from the academy. And what has shown that, and with the director of the academy has discussed this, the better shape somebody is, the better they do on those tests, the better they're going to do in the academy. And it's true. But it's just, right now, government, and it's not just law enforcement, it's fire, it's all through the government sector. We're competing with the private sector. If you look at what, say, Volvo's paying, you look at these hourly rates,
right.
It's crazy.
Wow.
But it will get better.
Yes. Yes, sir. So, Chief, let me ask you this. I hate to ask this question, but how many officers have you lost to the private sector thus far?
I believe I've lost 2 in about the past year and a half to the private sector, and both of them actually were getting out of law enforcement to go into the medical field.
Wow. So do you see that as a trend, as more officers leaving the law enforcement to go into a different field altogether?
Yes. And I believe they said at one time the statistics were the academy graduates, and don't quote me on this because it's been a while, that they'll graduate about 600 or 700 officers a year. But then you're having about 900 that are getting out altogether because they realize this is not the profession I want to be in. They're going into the private sector, or you're hitting retirement. So we hit that. It seems that it's cyclical. About every 2 to 3 years, you'll see a rash of retirements. But, we've been through this before. We're going to get through it.
And how many officers have actually retired from the Hanahan Police Department?
I have had, in the past 4 years, I've had 1 retire.
Okay.
From actually doing almost, I believe, 29 years of service. And we've had some others, obviously, because medical issues happen and they have to medically retire. So it's just tough.
Wow. And Chief, as you know, social media is a big thing these days. So how's that actually helping you vet more of these officers that you want to eventually hire?
So that's one thing that we do, and we've done it for the longest time. Um, and my wife actually works in human resources at a local bank, and I've picked up some stuff they do. That's the first thing you do. If you turn in an application right now, first thing I'm going to do is we're gonna Facebook stalk you and go through social media and look at stuff and see what you've posted on there, because I think a lot of times what people post on there reflect a lot about their character and moral values. And if I see an applicant that's posted something very disturbing, or I'm not going to hire him. I've had applications in the past where somebody's turned in and we start looking at it, and I've seen where they've made comments that I've construed, and I've had other members of my staff like, "Hey, it's a racist comment. I'm not taking you. I'll pass." And you also look at that too. That if you see looking through social media and you see them posting pictures, hey, they're drinking beer left and right. That's a concern too.
Yes.
Because we are. It was instilled in me long ago. Even though when we're not on duty, we're on duty.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I agree with
But
that.
it just shows, that's everywhere, and that's one thing we instill in my son, who's 17. I said all it takes is one off-color, distasteful thing on TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, all these different platforms. That's all it takes. And for example, another friend of ours is a coaches college baseball. He's taught to my son and a lot of his friends that play baseball. So look, that's one thing they look at. All it takes is one misjudgment on social media. It's going to haunt you, and it's not going to go away. But also, I think social media is very good. I mean, it helps us so much now. It helps obviously with the recruiting part. It helps us in praising our officers when they do good things. When we have a wanted person or a missing person, I'm putting on Facebook, and then I'll immediately, like a missing person we had a month or two ago, I put on social media and immediately emailed the news outlets, hey, go to my page if you can get it and share it. It's good for putting out crime tips. Yes. We'll also see where our citizens say, hey, while they may not actually file a police report, hey, my car was rummaged through last night. Okay, we saw this, even though it was not reported, we're going to be proactive. We're going to do some extra patrols in there and be visible.
Yes, indeed. So obviously we're in the holiday season right now, Chief. So how much has those social media tips increased by?
They increase here and there. Like I saw something today about a post about a vehicle slowly driving through a neighborhood. Well, okay, I started getting that. I'm going to go ahead and start. Luckily, it was a picture of the tag. I got the tag information. I sent that to my patrol supervisors. Hey, I don't know if it's anything, but ride through there. We also, we talk about like this year with the crime stuff like that. Like this time of year, this is what we'll post, especially over the next week or two, and we try and push it out closer to the holidays so people remember it. Like simple things like the 9 o'clock check. Make sure your car's locked. Hit that before you go to bed. Hit that fob. Make sure it's locked. Don't leave firearms in the car. If you're going to go on vacation, through our website, you can file a vacation check. We'll come by and check your house when you're gone. Don't put all your Christmas boxes outside. Box them up. Take them to recycling. Little things like that. And I like it too. A lot of times I monitor it. I'll see citizens post, hey, saw the you might see in the comment thread, hey, these cars were broken into. The citizen will comment, well, I check my ring camera at 2 o'clock in the morning. I see the police cars riding through, because one thing we do is at night, I encourage the officers to ride through the neighborhoods. It's nothing new. I actually got the idea. I think Richland County in Columbia is one of the first ones to do it. That when they're on duty and they still do it, you see the steady blues glow. Right. So we do that too. I even tell my officers, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're riding through a neighborhood. If you want to cut your strobe lights on, cut them on. Lets people know that we're here, and it reassures people that we're here. We're watching out for you.
Absolutely. And you talk about obviously what's going on right now because of the holiday season and vacation and properties. You said there was a decrease of property crimes. Where exactly was that in the city of Hanahan?
So what I have done is I look at specific property crimes. I factored in like robberies, which fortunately we didn't have that too many, but mainly like burglaries, general thefts, car break-ins, shopliftings, and I compared the number reported last year to what's up this year, and just doing a basic analysis and calculating the percentage, you're seeing a decrease. And I think what that's contributed to, we encourage our citizens at every HOA meeting that we're at, social media posts all the time. Hey, if you see something or hear something, just call us. It doesn't mean when we come that somebody's going to go. I'm going to cut my email off so it'll quit dinging. It doesn't mean that somebody's going to go to jail, but what it does guarantee is we're going to come out there and see what's going on and investigate it. And that works. And, that just comes from working with our community. We changed our whole outlook on policing. We're about 2012, I guess, working with the community. We built their trust. They know they can call us. Like, for example, my business card, I have my mobile number on all my cards. Call me and we'll get it out. Text me. Don't message me on Facebook because I don't monitor Facebook 24/7, but email me. My email always alerts. We'll push that out. And that's like, and the cops are bought into it, going out. The number one thing we can do is protect the property, ride through these neighborhoods. If I ride by your house at 3:00 in the morning, we have these crime prevention notices. We see a garage door open or dome light, we're going to leave that, but I instill my officers, let's go one step further. Let's wake them up and come out and let's check the property. And so it's nothing we're doing. It's more of the community buy into what we're telling them to do and telling us, and it's a partnership.
And when did that partnership really begin to take off for you and the community?
So we saw for years, and I think this was a general trend in law enforcement in general. When I was brought up early in the ranks, it was ticket, take people to jail, take people to jail. And as a result, we get a very adversarial relationship between the community and the police department. Well, we had a chief come in out of state, and he took over for a long time, standing chief, completely changed our whole dynamic. We got into code enforcement, working with these blighted properties, and we started seeing it, putting simple like lock it or lose it signs out, but working with the community, open door. And the emphasis now is we need to work with the community instead of against the community. And that's what's benefit. And also partnerships with other agencies has really helped too in the deterrence. Partnering with Sheriff Lewis took over Berkeley County, partnering with him. And many times when we've had issues, his community action team will come in. He'll do a proactive sometimes, seeing, hey, I saw this, I'm sending them in. Working closely with our neighbor, Reggie Burgess in North Charleston. If I have issues, especially in Charleston Farms, I can call Reggie, and I've done this in the past, and they will help us along the border. And it's just working together and using resources.
And Chief, what other resources you want to obviously use to continue to strengthen these partnerships?
Yeah, the biggest thing we do is information sharing. We daily get there's basically a listserv. We daily get crime bulletins between everyone gets from everyone. We pay attention to them. And a lot of times what we'll see, I say, hey, North Charles had a burglary, and I'm seeing this person. I'm so, hey, this looks familiar. This looks like someone we dealt with. And talking to them, and while our resources are limited, always offer them, hey, if there's anything we can do, we will we'll let you have it. Our state law enforcement division, I constantly tell SLED agents, hey, if you need a room to use for an interview or whatever, because they're scattered, you can use our building. Other agencies have come and used our building. But we work together, information sharing and developing the relationships with the other command staffs. Like a lot of the command staffs around here, my staff and their staff, we all came up together. And so we remember this part. There's no egos. We all have a common cause. is to keep the community safe and put the bad guys in jail.
And Chief, let me go over to Charleston Farms. Are there any issues right now that you are working with the
I will tell you, we focused that, and it's very peaceful.
Oh, good.
We go through there. You have isolated incidents here and there, but it's obvious with you can tell North Charleston's having an impact on what they're doing there. The city has we had a revitalization project we worked on, like simple things like just putting sidewalks in, repaving the road, putting some tag readers in the area. That's helped. And you see also what's helping too. If you look, a lot of times I've ridden over in the North Charleston side of Charleston Farms, and redevelopment is happening over there. That's coming here. And that goes back to us working with them, like the code enforcement years ago, making it a very good place, an attractive place to live. And we're seeing it. We're seeing property values go up, but there's minimal problems.
And Chief, well, let me ask you this. I know Hanahan is still relatively small as far as a little small bedroom community. How is your department working right now to make sure you keep up with the area's growth?
Well, what our council did as part of, I believe it was last year, yes, it was last year or the year before, is I went to them, and when I go for something, I'm not going to just want list. I'm going to have the data to back it up. I'm going to have our call volume, collision rate, things like that. And I went to them with the data. And as a result, I was given 3 additional officer spots. And so that's what you have to look at, is keep up with the growth. Some of these developments that are coming in, they have conversations. What can we do to improve the security? And that's what we do. We work closely with them and keep the problems away. And I mean, I've seen some municipalities in the state that officer-wise they're the same size as us, but as far as population, they're 1.5, sometimes 2 times, and they don't have the explosive call volume. It's just because they work with the people, and that's the key.
Oh yes, and you talk about obviously development. What are the current plight properties right now in the city of Hanahan?
You got some different areas that are that you can see are blighted, but everywhere's turning around. We have people coming into the city. So I can't really say there is a blighted area. Now you can tell there's some areas that are lower income, but just because it's lower income, that doesn't make it a blighted area or a bad area. That's hardworking people.
Yes,
and that's what we're here for. That's one thing I assure people. Whether you live in, and Hanahan's unique in that you can go from somebody living in a two bedroom duplex to $1 million homes. We treat everybody the same. I'm going to give that duplex the 100% customer service as I would that other person. And we do well too. One thing we've done to help, we have our city broken down into zones. So I keep an officer in all our zones at all times. As a result, because of that model, on average, we have a 5-minute or less response time.
Wow. And how much have you reduced response times by?
We're averaging. We have a new computer system that I'm working with for our CAD, which is the dispatch computer,
yes,
to help me dial down. I'm having to figure it's new. I'm having to learn it. But really, typically, we're average. I think the last time I really looked at, we were 2.98 minutes.
Wow.
And that is just telling people, hey, be in the neighborhoods, learn your routes. Learn the quickest ways, and they're doing that. And also, one thing that we're able to do when we get busy, and I'm sure other agencies do this, everyone from the newest officer to me, we're all police officers. We get busy. Command staff goes out on the road, covers calls. This past weekend, I assisted in a call when I was off, resulted in an arrest. Detectives will go out on patrol. So we make sure, we make sure our calls are answered.
And how many calls have been answered in this past year?
I couldn't even tell you, but I know it's a lot. I think we're up to 2,700 incident reports that have been filed.
Wow. And Chief, this might be a silly question, but what were the top 10 charges this year as far as crime in the city of Hanahan?
We have seen an influx. Well, everything's serious. We have seen an influx in DUI arrests. Everyone has. I don't get it. And I was just at, with DUIs, I was at a ceremony up in Moncks Corner last week with the coroner, with, honoring the victims of drunk and drug driving fatalities. It's totally preventable. We see that. I mean, we make a good bit of drug arrests, and with drugs will come the guns. So it's just a plethora. But the biggest thing what we're seeing right now is, and I'll know more when I run our numbers January 1. I know there's been an increase in the DUI arrests. Now I don't know if that's either officers are being more vigilant towards the problem, or there's more issues. They say COVID because people were locked down for so long. I don't know, but I think DUIs are the biggest one. We see the drugs. And drugs ebb and flow between heroin. You'll see the cocaine, crack, marijuana, disorderly conducts. Yes. But it's a whole plethora of what we deal with.
And Chief, you talked earlier about those tag readers. How many of those are there right now in the city of Hanahan?
We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We have 4 of them right now.
Wow. And how many more do you need or do you want to have in next year?
That's something I'm looking at.
Okay.
Of putting more in. And matter of fact, I took donuts over to North Charleston last week. Backstory is I made a friendly wager of donuts over the Powder Puff football game. Well, North Charleston had an excellent team, but out of fun, and I was actually showed some new technology that is relatively inexpensive that I'm actually going to start looking at, and I'm actually I'm hoping to go there possibly tomorrow to look at it more camera system, and they can do stuff like that. But bringing in like some of our developers about doing it, obviously it's a budgetary issue. They're expensive, and the backdoor, the upkeep of them is what you got to look. You got to prepare for the long term one. But what's good is about this system we're in, we can log in to run a tag through every reader in the state, and it's helped us. And there's a little bit of, I guess, concerns about the community when we first implemented them. Okay. But for example, when we have a car stolen and we know there's tag readers in there, we're going on that. We've had incidents where we've had a homicide, and that night I'm leaving the scene. Me and usually another lieutenant that does it with me. She's getting on social media, starting to look at stuff. I'm getting on tag readers and doing all. So technology is very, very useful, and it helps us.
Well, absolutely. And what would be the ideal? I mean, what would be the ideal? Well, what would be the the price tag that is for that type of equipment?
They're different prices now. When we first put them up, I believe it was about $25,000 a station. So the prices have come down, and obviously that's the one thing we're going to we continue to look at grants to implement those. And that's just other things we're looking at doing. It's just beneficial.
Yes, sir. And also, I wanted to go back to a couple of other things that you talked about earlier. But you talked about obviously refining your policies when it comes to obviously recruiting officers.
Right.
How many more policies do you want to refine in that particular category?
We refine all of them. I can't tell you offhand. Like we did the 9, and the 9 high risk ones, use of force, which these are ones that we actually go in and review every year to see if we need to make improvements or if we have an incident. Well, let's go back and look at the policy. Let's see what we may need to change to identify. And we'll use that too to identify where we can improve departmental training. And so one thing that we have done is we have implemented, and everyone else does it too, block training, which we'll pick a week or 2 out of the year, where we get our use of force training. We get firearms, pursuit training, and we actually changed our driver training. It was last year. We now use a driving course that's on the weapons station. Wow. And one thing we actually met about this the other day. We always talk about we did the past with the high speed response. Well, I want to change it this coming year. Let's do more of a defensive driving course. So, because, yes, we run lights and siren, have to go fast, but also, we're behind the wheel so much we get complacent. Let's do something to get rid of that complacency. But as far as what you're saying about personnel, we have a whole broad range of them from, I talked about basically like the action policies. We have rules and regulations of the department, social media. We have and just different ones we look at. Like we had a grooming policy for ages. It was prohibited. Beards were prohibited. Visible tattoos were prohibited. Well, one thing that's important for law enforcement, we have to keep our pulse on the change in society, what's going on. Well, now, visible tattoos are more, they're accepted. You see them everywhere. So we went to them. Charleston's hot during the summer. Let's not make these guys wear tattoo sleeves. They can get tattoos. Just anything can't be. I do not allow anything on the back of on the hands or on the neck or face. And also it has to be tasteful. So we do that. And we did start a couple of years ago. No Shave November. Initially, we did it to raise money for MUSC Children's Hospital. Well, the officers liked it, and as long as it's groomed, you can have facial hair. It's just relaxed. So long, police, law enforcement were so uptight, just like military, about it's this. But we have to soften our approach, and that's why we've done it. And one of the reasons, like we changed, like our pursuit policy is very, very tight now. You look at court cases that have come out of it, but you also go look back. What are the flashpoints for communities to get people? And the pursuit's one of them. That's one of the more dangerous things we do. So let's lock it down. And unfortunately, police chases is a necessary evil of the job. I've been in. I can't tell you. I've been in. I don't like them, especially if I'm chasing somebody and either me or the suspect crash into your car, your stuff's damaged. But we've tightened it down, and all our policies, like I said, we've tightened it down. We've the chokeholds. Yeah. That's always been in our policy. Right after George Floyd, it came out. That was the thing about the chokeholds. Well, right off the rip, it came out. We had a chiefs meeting not too long ago. That was right after that. That was discussed. We all unanimously agreed outlaw them. Unless, obvious case, if you're getting in a life or death, deadly force situation, but they're outlawed, and so it's been there. And that's just what we do. It's just you got to constantly refine your policies. Years past, our agency, and I talk about staffing, was anybody that was certified in breathing would come through. Hey, you're probably going to get hired, so we need the body. But we tightened that down as a result. Going back to tighten that, we've some that I've passed on just because some didn't sit right, and two of them that I passed on, I know for a fact they were decertified by the academy for use of force issues and things like that. And one thing that has helped by having a more stringent hiring process, our retention has gone up.
Wow, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. Well, Hanahan Police Chief Dennis Turner, thank you for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. I appreciate it. And like I tell everybody in our community, well, it's great to hear what we're doing great and good because that gives us a warm, fuzzy feeling. If you think there's something we're not doing great or we could do better, that's what I want to hear about. Because ultimately, I work for everybody out there, and I'm going to make sure they get their customer service is 110%.